10 starts and sits.
Coaches. Blow the whistle, ay. Blow the whistle, ay. Blow the whistle, they can't hold a flame against you, ay. Blow the whistle, blow the whistle, ay. Blow the whistle, got the game, it ain't no issue, yeah. Blowing the whistle, I had enough with you, the championship, it is gone. Ain't listen to you, I can't give it to you, cause you don't know what I've been on. This is the Coaches Podcast.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome in to the Fantasy Coaches Podcast. I'm your host, as always, guys, Coach Steve, guys. We have another fun, exciting episode for you guys today. A little weird that we are recording on a Tuesday, but since it is Thanksgiving this weekend, we won't really have time to record you guys a later show this week. And with Black Friday and all the other things I will be doing, it was better off that we get a good episode in today, and we'll do our best to give you guys the best fantasy advice. Of course, with me today is Coach John. What's going on, Coach John?
Not much, Coach Steve. Hanging out. I feel like I haven't seen you in almost 24 hours, so this is fun. This is good.
Yeah, that's true. Yes,
I'm excited.
We recorded yesterday our waiver wire show, so if you guys have waiver questions, feel free to throw those in too, but we are mostly talking about starts and sits here today, guys. In terms of news, I really didn't have anything too crazy because, nothing's really going on news-wise just yet. We'll find out about the Thursday night people probably tomorrow and see who's playing, who's not. Aaron Jones does have a sprain. More than likely he is out for this matchup, something that we kind of already knew. Obviously, we're not going to find out till in a couple days about the Thursday or the Sunday games and the Monday games. So we'll do our best to kind of break down as much as possible. But we will give you guys in-depth analysis on good matchups, bad matchups, and that sort of stuff. So we will get right into it. We have a lot of games. We've never done all 16 games. So
yeah, we got a full slate.
Usually we don't do the Thursday night game usually. So we have every game here. So let's start from the top here. Packers-Lions. Question of the game: is Jalen Reed a good flex play this week?
Yes. I think the short answer is yes. I think he is starting to emerge as a reliable target. He's getting work in all facets. They did an end around, and his touchdown was a end around type of play. So they're using him in the backfield. They're using him in misdirection plays. They're throwing to him. He's one of those guys. He's shifty, pretty electric with the ball in his hands. And I don't trust Christian Watson really to make big plays anymore. I don't know if I, can really put faith in, obviously we don't have Aaron Jones. So, what are they going to do with short yardage pass situations? That's where I'm trusting Jayden Reed to really step up. So I think this week could be a good Jayden Reed week. Last week he got the touchdown. The week prior he was getting involved all over the field. So, yeah, it seems like going forward until further notice, you can start him as your flex and hope you get a touchdown. It's looking pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. I think even in a matchup where everyone is no buys, there's nothing to worry about, he is a good flex option still. Yes, he's not going to get 40 yards and a touchdown rushing every single time, but he hasn't always done that. He has been a guy that has gotten 80 yards in 2 of the last 4 games. He's someone that Jordan Love relies on in the short game compared to the deep ball because they don't like using him. They don't like using anyone deep because Jordan Love can't throw deep that well. A lot of short yardage games here. The Lions are a bad team against wide receivers this year. So it does make a lot of sense that Jayden Reed could be a guy that you might want to have that spark in your flex option for you this week. Some other good options. I think Jordan Love, despite, some issues he's had, he's a good play. I think the matchup makes sense. Indoors, good game. Sam Laporta is obviously always a good tight end to start. Amon St. Brown is a beast. You start both Lions running backs is a decently good matchup for both these guys here. Christian Watson, I don't really want to start him. Like the touchdown doesn't give me enough confidence to say, yeah, let me just throw him in my lineup. For most cases, I really don't want to. Obviously, Aaron Jones is going to be out, and it means A.J. Dillon's back at the starting running back spot. But again, Dillon has been very inefficient this year. Kind of stay away from that. Josh Reynolds, he hasn't been done anything in the last month and a half now this season. What about Jared Goff? Bad game this past week here. Packers are pretty good against quarterbacks. Justin Herbert went off on them. How do you feel about Goff? Is he good enough in a 1 QB league?
Yeah, I think he's still kind of just always in that back end QB1 kind of quarterback 9, 10, 11, 12 in that range. So he's worthy of starting. He's kind of becoming the new Kirk Cousins. Like you can always start him. He might have a big game, and it's just there's he has flaws, so he will have bad games like we just saw. But I think that this Packers Lions game, the over under is set at 46.5. I think this could be a sneaky over game. Normally Thursday nights, I always bet the under, but this to me has the makings of a decent game.
I respect it. What about Romeo Dobbs? Is Romeo Dobbs another flex-worthy play for you? He's been a barrel touchdown machine for the Packers.
Sure. Yeah, I think Romeo Dobbs is definitely in play. I mean, if you're willing to flex Jaden Reed, you could obviously flex Romeo Dobbs. He's kind of he's again very touchdown dependent, similar to like what we've seen with Cortland Sutton lately. But the touchdowns keep coming, so I'm willing to start him. Yeah, I'm definitely willing to start him.
Absolutely. Jameson Williams, not really. I don't know why I put him even on the line, but it's just a name. If someone liked what they saw last week, I don't think the targets are there just yet. He's improving, but I don't think he's there yet to consider him in when everyone is playing. And Luke Musgrave is a pretty solid tight end that you could play. Again, the Lions haven't been good against tight ends. So,
my dog just barked. The one thing I will say about Luke Musgrave, I will be careful. He's had back-to-back no practices, Monday, Tuesday. So
did he? I missed that. Okay.
Yeah, just the team says it's questionable whether he's going to play. It's a true kind of 50-50. So just heads up to all the listeners out there.
Good to know. Thank you for that. All right, over to the next game here. Dallas Cowboys, Washington Commanders. This is the second Thanksgiving game of the weekend here. And question the game here, John. Do we trust the Washington receivers in this game?
No. Nope. No, I don't. I think I obviously, I think that the Washington Commanders are going to have to keep up with the Cowboys. They're going to have to throw. So you can take the chance with McLaurin. I'm not willing to with Dotson anymore. That's too risky for me. But you can take the chance with McLaurin. But I think with a full slate of teams, nobody on bye, you probably have better options out there than Terry McLaurin at this point. Right. I think that it could be a tough day for the Washington Commanders.
Yeah, I agree with that too. I think the only thing you're banking on is hopefully garbage time production for like McLaurin and Dotson, especially McLaurin. That's where you're going to go 3 quarters and say, why did I start him? And then maybe in the fourth, things go great where he ends up with a pretty decent game. But there's definitely question marks with his game there. I mean, McLaurin is an okay flex, but it's still very risky. Dotson, I don't really want to trust him. Dak Prescott, you're obviously starting. He's been on fire. Tony Pollard's doing enough, not a lot, but enough that you can start him in this matchup. CeeDee Lamb, you obviously start. You start Jake Ferguson in terms of tight ends. Dunn's done really well this year. Even in a tough matchup, Brian Robinson has been fantastic, and I will continue to let him ride it out as the RB4 on the season. I will continue to put him in starting lineups. I feel like he sits at RB4, but he's no way he's RB4. But you're like, oh, he's RB4 in the season. It's so crazy, but you have to put him in your starting lineup at this point and just hope for the best. Curtis Samuel, he was ejected last game, so I would just sit him in a general sense. I don't really trust the wide receivers in general. What about Brandon Cooks? Is Brandon Cooks more of a good start play, or is it more of a questionable play for you?
Still
great matchup.
Great matchup. Still pretty questionable. Decent flex, obviously, because he's on a good offense and does have big play ability. But I think the Dallas Cowboys are going to kind of have their way with the Commanders, not really need to throw the ball 40 times, 50 times this week.
About the Giants last 2 weeks ago. And
I know. So I know. Well, that was crazy. And that one was like, they were just kicking someone while they were down. So
divisional game, they might want to kick their divisional foes down.
They might, and the Cowboys do. the Cowboys are a team that, and this is crazy to say, I think they are a team that definitely understands the moment, and they're on Thanksgiving Day. They're playing. They're going to want to put up a big number. It could happen. So, like, if you were to ask me Jaden Reed or Brandon Cooks, like, close, maybe Brandon Cooks, just because I like the offense better. So he's probably that level of a low end, wide receiver 3 flex kind of guy, but always Brandon Cooks perennially every year is a threat for a big game. So he's, flex consideration, but I just think if you're if you really are looking at your roster, and again, no buys, no major injuries, you can probably pick someone a little bit more consistent. But yeah, I mean, Brandon Cooks, he just had 170 yards and a score like 2 weeks ago, so he obviously can still do it.
Yeah, no, I trust him as a good flex play this week. The matchup makes a ton of sense here. Thanksgiving game, I expect this to be a higher scoring game for both sides, so I do like Brandon Cooks. Gallup and Tobert, they're more like deeper league dart throws and hope that maybe one of them hits for a big play. Logan Thomas, I think John can say that it's, he's a borderline tight end 1 in this game because obviously the Packers have struggled. I can't talk today. The Cowboys have struggled against tight ends over their season, so the only position that really has been able to be successful. What about Sam Howell? Are you trusting Sam Howell as a QB1 this week in a 1 QB league? I mean, he's like QB4 on the QB3 on the season.
Yeah. I mean, that's an interesting one, right? Because if I don't want to start the wide receivers, then you would think I don't want to start Sam Howell. But I do think he uses Logan Thomas and Brian Robinson in the passing game in these short yardage sort of passes and lets them work with the ball in their hands, get some yak, and they're going to have to throw, to keep up with the Cowboys. They're going to have to. So even if it's, like you said, garbage time, fourth quarter, they're down, 38-14 or 38-10, and he's chucking the ball all over the place because he's just trying to, keep the team in play. It can happen. So I think Sam Howell is, I don't think we can expect a big game from Sam Howell, but you can expect a usable game from Sam Howell. If you're in a 1 quarterback, I'd probably try and fade away. But in any 2 quarterback or super flex format, he's fine as a high QB2.
Yeah, he seems to be this generation's Blake Bortles. But I do like Howell a lot better than Blake Bortles as a talent. But yeah, I think you just go ahead and start him. Like, what's the point? He's been doing it so well this year. Even in a week where he threw 3 picks, he still ended up with 19 fantasy points. So he does it. It's not pretty, but the man gets the job done for us in fantasy. So 49ers Seahawks. This is the night game on Thursday night here. Question of the game, is Zach Charbonnet a start? We have to assume at this point that more than likely Ken Walker is not going to play in this game here. He's the top waiver wire pickup of fantasy this week, probably. Do you go ahead and just start him against the 49ers?
Yes, I think you do. I think you kind of, I know it's a bad matchup. I know it doesn't look good. There's a chance Geno Smith doesn't play, but he's going to have the backfield to himself. There's literally, if Ken Walker doesn't play, there's really nobody else. So it's hard to find guys who are going to get 15 to 20 touches in an offense. It's just, you're not going to do that. So when it comes to running backs, I like volume. I like guys who are going to see guaranteed work, and Zach Charbonnet falls into that category. He's also, a bit of a pass catcher. He can do multiple things. It's not just going to be a kind of Najee Harris run for 2.2 a clip 20 times. He has a little bit more explosiveness to his game. He brings a little bit more diversity. So I think Zach Charbonnet, we've been telling people to pick him up all year for this exact scenario where Ken Walker misses. It sucks that the week Ken Walker misses is against San Francisco 49ers, but I think he's absolutely in play.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, we saw last week that Zach Charbonnet, he's been doing it the last few weeks now. He's a guy that can catch the ball in the backfield. We saw Rachaad White have a role in his game against the 49ers last week, where it was a lot of pass catching to the running backs. And if they do that with Charbonnet, he should be a good enough RB2 if you need a guy for the week, especially if Ken Walker is out, because there's really outside of that, it's just DJ Dallas and Zach Charbonnet is probably going to see over 80% of the snap like he did last week. So definitely a decent play. Brock Purdy, you start him. He's just been on fire ever since they came out of their bye. CMC obviously is an auto start. Brandon Ayuk, Debo Samuel, George Kittle, the big three there in San Fran. You just start them. They're all so good in what they do there. They get the Seattle's secondary is a little funky. DK Metcalf, I think he's a good enough start, whether or not Locke or Smith plays. I mean, he's been someone who's recently been really strong in fantasy. I think Smith and him have a really good connection. And if anything, Drew Lock can just air the ball downfield. And, the 49ers secondary is not that great against wide receivers. So that he be able to do enough there. I'm sitting both Geno Smith and Drew Lock, whoever does start. I don't really want to start them. Do you go out and start like a Tyler Lockett or JSN this weekend?
Probably not JSN. Maybe take a chance with Tyler Lockett. I think that Drew Lock, I made the sort of joke the other day that he's kind of like Jameis Winston, but I do think Drew Lock, fantasy-wise, can keep DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett afloat. He is going to chuck it up. He doesn't care. He never has. He didn't care when he was in Denver. He's going to throw it, even when he shouldn't. And so, I wouldn't start him for fantasy, but I think he can keep the pass catchers afloat. I don't know if I want to go all the way to the third option of JSN because it's the San Francisco 49ers. But I'm willing. I think DK Metcalf's fine. And I think Tyler Lockett, again, if you're looking at like Brandon Cooks, Tyler Lockett, I'm probably Tyler Lockett.
Yeah, I'm probably okay with Lockett as more of a boom bust flex. JSN, again, he's just been a guy that gives you 7 or 8 points most weeks. Again, it's nothing pretty. But it's decent play, but it's not enough that in a week where there's no buys, it's just like, I don't really want to start that. There's really hasn't been their upside that we want for JSN right now. So, and we have the first Black Friday game ever with my Dolphins and the New York Jets, somewhere where I will be tailgating this weekend. But the question of the game here, and I think is a pretty interesting question. Do you start Jalen Waddle? The Jets, we know, are a team that have allowed the fewest fantasy points to wide receivers this season, just 2 touchdowns, I think, to every wide receiver this year, basically. But do you go ahead? I think there might be more now, but for the most part, do you start Jalen Waddle? I mean, he's been kind of more of a boom or bust guy, John. Like, just really hasn't been a consistent option all season. Some game have 21, 14, then have 9, 6, 7. Do you start him in a week where there's no one possibly on bye this week?
No, I don't, which is crazy to think. I think that you can. I think you can pivot away. You don't have to be afraid. There is the threat that you could miss out on a big play. You could miss out on a big touchdown. There's always that threat with Jalen Waddle. But clearly he hasn't developed into the wide receiver 2 that we expected this year, opposite Tyreek Hill. And the Miami Dolphins, they're going to be able to move the ball on the ground. They're going to be able to move the ball with Tyreek Hill. They're not, I don't think the Jets and Dolphins is going to become a shootout. And in that case, Jalen Waddle becomes more enticing. I think Miami is going to be able to handle business against Tim Boyle and the Jets right now. So, you'll get your classic 110 yards and touchdown from Tyreek Hill, and then they'll spread the rest out everywhere else. Right. So I'm not trying to jam Jalen Waddle in my lineup.
Yeah, neither am I either. Unless you just don't really have anybody else, I'd look other directions. Like I have other directions where I am sitting Jalen Waddle this weekend here. I don't feel like he's going to have a big upside play. And in a lot of matchups, I do need an upside play this week here. And I feel he just doesn't offer that. He might offer a nice 7-point game, which isn't terrible, but I just don't think this game will be super high scoring. The Jets defense is very good. And then Miami's offense just kind of been on and off way too much. And I think Jalen Waddle has been suffering from that. So definitely not the best start. Definitely would prefer not to, but you might have to. I got a question in the chat from TH. Would you guys trade Ramondre Stevenson, Tank Dell for DeAndre Swift and Chris Godwin? half PPR?
No, I probably wouldn't. I think,
I don't think
you
I
know,
would either.
Ramondre and Swift are, in my mind, similar tiered running backs. You know, I know Swift has looked great. The offensive line is outstanding, so that obviously helps.
I
But
think just there's no upside with Godwin right now. Everyone else could
yeah,
have some type of upside, but just Godwin just doesn't show
I
it.
was gonna say Tank Dell to me is like,
He's fantastic right now.
if you're in redraft, I mean dynasty too, but if you're, it's like, why would you trade this guy away? He's just clearly
Ride him out.
electric. He's hot as anything. The quarterback's throwing the ball really well. He's in MVP conversation. It's like I don't understand the concept, especially in redraft, of let's sell high now. Like, you're getting ready for playoffs. You need these guys who can put up 20, 30-point games. Tank Dell has proven that he's that guy. I'm not shipping him off. There's no sign of him slowing down for any reason.
Right. Some other starts: Brees Hall, Garrett Wilson, Tyreek Hill, Raheem Mostert, all good starts. You sit Tim Boyle, you sit any of the Jets wide receiver, you sit Dalvin Cook, you sit the Dolphins tight ends. You comfortable starting Devon A-Chain? If he's active and plays Sunday, do you put him in your lineup, or do you just let him sit it out for the week and see what happens?
I would play him. And I understand there's a huge risk, but I think the reward is too high to not at least take that risk if he's active. It sucks that he got one kind of bad hit and wasn't allowed back into the game. But you know, guys with the caliber of putting up 40 points on a week, you got to take that chance. And you know, it sucks. It hurts. Trust me. I played Devon A-Chan everywhere I could last week, and the process is right, but sometimes the results don't always match.
I respect it. Tyler Conklin, again, he's a decent start in tight end leagues there. Jeff Wilson, if A-Chain's out, could have some role because Savon Ahmed did go to the IR today, so Jeff Wilson might come back to life a little bit. And I think Tua is just, you have to take Tua with a boom or bust approach, and I feel like this is going to be a game where he just doesn't do as well, unfortunately, for us in fantasy. I would look to avoid him if I could. But if you can't, you know, you just kind of hope for the best with that secondary that he has to go up against. Tua's really not done that great against the Jets over his career. So, all right, the first Sunday game here, New Orleans and the Falcons here. Do we play Drake London? Flex play still? Probably
not. No, not with every team playing. No bye weeks. I just think is, you know, better options. New Orleans Saints are a really tough defense.
Yeah,
you're going to get Desmond Ridder again. I just don't, you know, it's not worth it to me.
It's at home, Desmond Ridder too. So he could be eating our words with that. But yeah, I think in the smart situation here, you just don't play Drake London, like unless you have no options. He just isn't a guy that I feel comfortable under 10 fantasy points the last 3 weeks. I'd probably avoid him if I could. From starts, Derek Carr, Jameis Winston, whoever the starting quarterback is, I'd like to have them in my lineup this week. Falcons are terrible against quarterbacks. Alvin Kamara, you got to start him. Chris Olave, you got to throw out there. Michael Thomas is on IR. So Rashid Shaheed jumps up into a flex-worthy conversation as maybe a little bit more of a non-boomer bust player. Definitely more interesting for sure. Bijan Robinson, obviously you start him. The Kyle Pitts, Jonnu Smith train, I continue to ride them if you are struggling with tight ends. Saints have been bad against tight ends actually this year. Jamal Williams, I'm avoiding. I know Desmond Ritter's at home, and he usually plays well at home, but Saints defense is really good. Tyler Algier, I don't want to start him when there's no bye weeks. Do you start Taysom Hill?
Yep. I think you can. I think you can start Taysom Hill any week. He could be, again, he could throw a touchdown. He could rush a touchdown. He could catch a touchdown. He could do a bunch of stuff. So There's a lot of variables with Taysom Hill, and there's a lot of ways he could score fantasy points that no other tight end really can. So he, in my mind, is always in play. He's always in play because there's just a myriad of options for how he scores, how he gets points. It's not the same as starting Evan Ingram, who it's like there's one way this guy's going to get points, and that's that being a traditional tight end. Taysom Hill could throw a 70-yard pass to Rashid Shaheed and score it that way, and then also get a 3-yard carry on the goal line and score that way, and not even catch a pass, and all of a sudden be fine for your tight end spot. So I think you have to. At some point, we just got to accept that that's part of what we're doing. You take advantage of this little loophole that we have.
Yeah, the freaking loophole, that's for sure. Jawan Johnson's an okay sleeper tight end. A.T. Perry, I just wanted to mention him. He saw a big snap share. Interesting. Probably wouldn't play him at all, but interesting to see if his role expands with Michael Thomas out of the lineup. So
yeah, he is in my opinion, he is a big add. And then this week you wait and see. But if he's out there in 2 wide receiver sets opposite Chris Olave and seeing 85% snap share, and you might have yourself a piece going forward.
Yes, very much so. All right, Pittsburgh Steelers, Cincinnati Bengals. Which wide receiver core do we trust more? Do we trust the Steelers or do we trust the Bengals? Both playing with inadequate quarterbacks, you could say. Whose receiving core would you trust more? I mean, I guess you think for the most part, you're probably just trusting Cincinnati because of Jamar Chase.
If I'm trusting
Matt Canada got fired. So
I was gonna say I do love the Matt Canada leaving situation for the Steelers. If I was to trust a wide receiver, it would be Jamar Chase. If you were to ask me which core of wide receivers do I trust more, it's probably the Pittsburgh Steelers this week. You got no Matt Canada. I have a feeling they're gonna really sort of test the boundaries of what Kenny Pickett can do. In my opinion, this is now Kenny Pickett tryout for the next 8 weeks, 6 weeks, whatever we got left in the season. This is Kenny Pickett's chance to keep a job. So he's going to do anything and everything he can to prove that he can throw the ball more than 10 yards down the field. So I think overall I would trust. I think I trust kind of the Steelers to figure it out and get better than Jake, Browning stepping in and dominating against a tough Steelers defense. So to answer the question convolutedly, I will say Steelers. I trust the Steelers wide receivers more this week.
No, I like it. Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth. I think I would give a go with the Steelers situation overall. Obviously, Jamar Chase is a must start, but between Johnson and Pickens, I trust them more than the whole Cincinnati's wide receiver core. We don't know if T. Higgins even coming back this week or not, but yeah, definitely would do that. Pat Freiermuth, Cincinnati's terrible against tight ends. Jalen Warren, he's playing well now. Najee Harris is good enough as an RB2. Joe Mixon is going to see more work probably. Sitting both quarterbacks, I don't trust what they're doing whatsoever.
Nope.
Outside of that, Tanner Hudson, he's been playing a lot better for their tight end position, kind of, he's splitting the role. But it just sucks you don't have Joe Burrow. So, it just sucks you don't have Joe Burrow. I love that Tanner Hudson is starting to emerge. I love that Jamar Chase was finally starting to have some big games. I loved all of it, and then you just ripped the rug right out of him by putting Joe Burrow on the shelf. Exactly. All right. Panthers, Titans. Do we trust the Panthers backfield in this matchup? Chuba Hubbard's, Miles Sanders basically split the backfield this past weekend. Are you trusting any one of them in your lineup, or they're probably sits? No, they're both sits for me. They're both now. So this is the problem that I think I thought was going to happen is there was no way that they were just going to pay Miles Sanders all this money and just let him sit on the bench. So they were going to try to get him back involved. And the problem is now we're going to be in this ambiguous 50-50 sort of split where both of them have been pretty inefficient. And now not only am I not going to get all the work with Chuba, I'm going to get
half the work and still be inefficient. So I'm cool with, sort of letting both of these guys sit on my bench. If one of them had all of the work, like we saw early in the year with Miles Sanders, and then for a few weeks with Chuba Hubbard, it can be useful. But if they're going to split, they're each going to get 10 carries. It's like, I don't want that.
Yeah, no, I respect that. I agree with you on that. I prefer not to have them in lineups this week for sure. Starts, not a lot. Derrick Henry, I'm going to go back to him. He's still an elite player in my eyes. I don't care what he's been doing. Panthers are terrible against the run. Hopkins is a good enough flex play. Not great, but good enough. Adam Thielen obviously continues to be a low-end wide receiver too. I'm going to sit Bryce Young, sit Will Levis. I'm sitting all the other Titans, Carolina Panthers wide receivers combined. Maybe someone steps up, but I don't know who the hell that's going to be. No one has been consistent. No one's doing anything. Sitting all the tight ends, both terrible matchups for tight ends this week here. Chico Conco is losing his job. Tommy Trumbull is not a good tight end for fantasy. Would you give Tyjae Spears a play in a very favorable matchup, or?
Probably not. I mean, you'd have to be super desperate to really to play him, but you could, like, I'd play him over Hubbard or Sanders. You know what I'm saying? Like, so that's probably the level that I would put Tyjae Spears at, but I'm not trying in any way, shape, or form to get him in my lineup.
I respect it. Chris Godwin. This is a fun one. We talked about Chris Godwin. Is Chris Godwin flex worthy? Really just kind of underperformed in the last few weeks here outside of a touchdown game. He's really just not that great for fantasy.
Yeah, he is not flex worthy in my mind. He is kind of, and we talk about it we talk about it all the time. I look for flex guys who could really pop off, the Rashid Shaheeds of the world, the Khalil Shakirs, these guys who they might get you 4 points, but they could get you 20 points. Whereas Chris Godwin is like, all right, he's probably going to get you 8, but he's no way he's getting you more than 12. And so, okay, I just don't I don't know. I would much rather, with my flex spot, I would much rather take the chance of something big. If you have to plug Chris Godwin as like a, whatever, like a wide receiver, low end wide receiver 3, not going to goose you. Yeah, he's fine in that regard. But, I just, with a full slate of games, I don't think he's flex worthy.
I respect it. Yeah, I don't really want to flex him. You might be forced to, but I really don't want to. Starts Baker Mayfield and Gardner Minshew. I think a good sleepers QB1 starts, good super flex starts for sure. I think this is going to be a higher scoring game. Rashard White has just been so good in fantasy the last month and a half now. You got to keep playing him. Jonathan Taylor is an absolute beast, even in a tough matchup. Michael Pittman, if Josh Downs plays, I think the matchup is so good you have to play both. Mike Evans is just continuing to be on fire. He's a wide receiver 1 right now in fantasy. You got to play him. Sitting the Colts tight ends. Alec Pierce really isn't doing anything. Zach Moss, unless he gets a roll back, I don't really see him anywhere near lineups. K-Dot and tight end?
Maybe. Sure. I mean, again, tight ends are always just kind of looking for a touchdown. So I don't think this is the week for K. Dotton. But he's fine. He's fine. Low, like a mid tight end 2 in my head.
Yeah. All right. Next game, New England Patriots versus the New York Giants here. Again, which wide receiver group are we trusting?
None of them. I don't want any.
Douglas.
I would say Pop Douglas and that's the only one that I even would remotely look at. And I still don't even really want to start him. And that's, everyone else is completely useless. Completely useless.
Yep. I would prefer not to start any wide receiver from this game. Again, I can't say the right name. Demario Douglas is the only guy I would consider as a flexible option, of course. I think you start the running backs, both got good matchups. Saquon, Ramondre Stevenson, sitting whoever plays quarterback. I don't know if Mac Jones is still I don't know if Mac Jones is still the starter or not. We'll find out, I guess, this week. Bailey Zappi. The tight ends have tough matchups. Hunter Henry hasn't really been doing good. Daniel Banjo's been fine, but it's more like 3 for 30. Not really start worthy in terms of when everyone's playing at tight end this week. Tommy DeVito, I mean, the matchup's okay, I guess, but like probably in a super flex league, obviously you might be more consideration after a great game last week, but probably that was a one-time wonder thing. But we'll find out. What about Zeke? You trust Zeke at
I think
all?
you can.
Great matchup.
Yep. Zeke, I think you can play. It's a good matchup. The New England Patriots, regardless of who's back there, Mac Jones or Bailey Zappi, they're going to flip very heavy to a run scheme, very heavy to a run offense. So, yeah, I think Ezekiel Elliott's going to get double-digit touches in a good matchup. So, I'm okay with it. I'm okay with starting him as like a low RB2. That's fine.
I like it. All right, next game here. The Jacksonville Jaguars, Houston Texans. Do we continue with Singletary? Tough matchup. I don't know if Dameon Pierce is coming back. Let's say Dameon Pierce does come back just because we won't know. But if Dameon Pierce does return, how do you feel about that?
If Dameon Pierce is back, then no, I'm probably out on Devin Singletary.
Okay.
Because there will be that sort of amalgamous, like split backfield situation. Devin Singletary has been great because he's been getting all the work, like literally all of it. So, and I think that's kind of who Devin Singletary is and who he's been his whole career is like, yeah, he's good. He's shifty. He can hit a big play every once in a while, but he needs 15, 16, 17 carries for him to finally rip one off. When he's in any level of a rotation, he just doesn't seem as efficient, which is weird, but you got to accept it for what it is at this point. So Agreed. If Dameon Pierce is in, I'm out on both running backs. I don't really want either one.
Oh, yeah, I'm on the same note there. I would prefer not to start either if Pierce is back. No Pierce, I think he's a good flex play.
No Pierce, you can keep flexing him out there for sure.
Yeah. Got a question in the chat from Connor. Needs to start 2 running backs, 1 wide receiver, 1 flex, 1 tight end. So let's break this down. Okay. Let's look at his running backs first. That will make it easier for us. He has got Swift, Bijan, Ramondre, and Jalen Warren.
Okay.
So those 2 running backs. Who are you starting?
Probably Swift and Warren. Swift and Bijan, either Swift and Bijan or Swift and Warren. To be honest with you,
I can't sit Bijan Robinson. I can't sit Bijan Robinson.
You can't. I can't sit well, you could flex him.
Well, we'll come back to Warren then.
All right, so we'll do Swift and Bijan. I love it.
All right, 1 wide receiver between Ridley, Rice, Downs.
Oh boy. Do you chase the dragon with Calvin Ridley? That's a good question. I think you can. I think this matchup you can. Houston Texans defense is not overly scary. The Houston Texans offense is going to score points. We talked about it yesterday. Zay Jones back in the lineup does do something for this Jacksonville Jaguars offense. So I think you can chase the dragon with Calvin Ridley. So I would probably play him. I think he has, the only other one I would consider is possibly Downs. Rice, I love. I think he's a good player. He's a great.
Not enough opportunity.
There's not enough opportunity. I mean, they were throwing a Justin Watson.
He needs like 9+ carries, 9+ targets a game.
Yeah. So I think it's probably Ridley for me.
We'll go with Ridley. I would prefer Downs, but we'll go with Ridley.
Okay.
We compromise on the running back. I'll compromise on the wide receiver.
I appreciate it. And then I'm Kincaid. I'm Kincaid.
Kincaid all day.
I'm all over. I love, like, what's not to love? I mean, he's quickly becoming the number 2, sometimes the 1B in the Bills offense. So I love it. I totally love it. Right. He was a first-round draft pick for a reason. Bills want to use him. And then flex.
Jalen Warren, Rice, Downs, or McBride.
So flex, now this is where you could either go Jalen Warren or Josh Downs. And
I like McBride, to be honest.
Really? Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Rams are terrible against tight ends.
Yeah, I know they are.
Who would you pick, though? Pick your guy.
If I had to pick one, I do think that I like Jalen Warren. I do. I do like him. I do think Matt Canada leaving is going to give a little pep to this offense. He went for 100 yards last week. He's been explosive all season. But I get that it's a little bit scarier. It's a little bit riskier for sure. But I've always been
that. He's like the wide receiver 1 pass catcher on the team.
Yeah, I mean, I know.
Murray's been back. I don't think Zach Ertz is coming back in this game. I think he might be able to, potentially, but I don't think he is. So
Yeah, I haven't heard much about his return. He's eligible to come off IR at this point, but I don't know. I haven't heard anything about Zach Ertz.
yeah,
I haven't
no,
heard
me
a peep.
neither.
I haven't heard
All
a
right,
peep.
Connor. So we were
Sorry,
rambling.
sorry, we
So
rambled a bit.
Swift, Bijan, Ridley,
Kincaid.
Kincaid, and either
I-
Jalen Warren or McBride. And we'll let you pick on that. I think me and
I-
John are pretty much split on that for the most part, but it's okay.
Yeah, I
Josh
think
Allen and Lamb and CD Lamb are locks. So and then Kincaid, and he's got Josh Allen and Lamb, which are locks, of course, and he's got the Kincaid. Josh Allen is a nice duo, absolutely.
Oh, that's a great stack. That's a great stack.
And hello, Albert. How are you?
Hey, Albert. What's up, bud?
All right. So to continue with this game here, you start CJ Stroud, you start Travis Etienne, you start Evan Ingram, you start Dalton Schultz, you start Nico Collins and Tank Dell, of course. Like I said, I'm sitting Zay Jones. He's more of a just presence on the field than anything. Damian Pierce is sitting. Do you go back to Trevor Lawrence after a big game last week? He terrible last time against the Texans. And the Texans are home this time.
I don't think so. I'm not.
No,
I'm not going back.
I'm not buying the game last week.
I'm not, because he also rushed. He rushed 2 touchdowns in, correct? Yeah, that's not going to happen. That's going to inflate anybody's score. You know, that's. Right. I mean, that's what's that? 12 points right there. So I mean, that's just going to inflate anybody's score. You take one of those away, and it becomes a much more realistic pedestrian. You take both of those away, it's a very pedestrian day. So I think I'm okay at this point, kind of accepting that Trevor Lawrence hasn't taken the step into this fantasy superstardom. But he's winning games, and the Jacksonville Jaguars look good. It's just fantasy's not. It's not there. It's not. Right. It's not. Yeah. It's not.
I would prefer not to start him either. So I get it. Yeah. Noah Brown's an okay play if he plays. Probably won't want to, but he might be. We have never seen this group together with all 4 of them in their prime season right now. So, and I think Christian Kirk and Calvin Ridley are good flex plays. Personally, I think Ridley's the upside play. Kirk's the safety play. So those are pretty good. We have another question in the chat from Chandler. Burrow unfortunately had a season-ending injury. Very sad. I traded Fields and Mike Evans for Josh Allen. And Terry, Josh Allen has a bye week. Has a bye week.
First week of the playoffs. Waivers is Bryce Minshew.
Oh, he must play his playoffs earlier because there shouldn't be any bye weeks in the playoffs. He must start week 13 or 14 playoff, I guess. That just sucks.
That Minshew, by the way, Gardner Minshew is the one that you would want to pick up for.
Let me just look at the matchup. I mean, yeah, in a general sense, I'd probably just want.
Even still, I don't trust Bryce. I don't trust Browning.
Cincinnati. So.
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay.
Allen, Pollard, Etienne, good team. Allen, Debo.
You get Kyron back soon. That's fun.
Traded Connor and Murray. Trade Connor and Amari for Purdy, Stevenson, and some wide receiver back.
What? Yeah. Wait. Whoa. So you can trade James Conner and Amari Cooper for Brock Purdy, Ramondre Stevenson, and a wide receiver? Yeah, I would do that, especially knowing that you're not going to have Josh Allen for the first round of your playoffs.
If it's a playoff thing that's good concerning, I absolutely would do that.
I would do that. I don't know what Amari Cooper is going to be with DTR rest of the season. Right. James Conner and Ramondre Stevenson, very similar assets to me. And so you get Brock Purdy, and then maybe the wide receiver you get back is, Rashid Shaheed, right? Like, sure, whatever. And now with Michael Thomas on IR and all this, you know what I'm saying? So I would do that. I absolutely would do that. I would be.
I hate people who start their bye weeks, who start their playoffs during bye weeks. Come on, you can't be doing that to people.
It stinks. So knowing that you have,
they got Philly in 2 weeks. So yeah, I absolutely would want to make that move. Yeah. If you're looking for a big play, I'd rather have Brock Purdy playing Philly than playing Gardner Minshew against the Bengals.
Yeah,
in your first playoff matchup, you need to go big.
Yep,
that's a big move right there.
Yep, big. I love it. That's it. That's a good, sharp move, knowing the future.
Agreed. All right, next game here: Cleveland Browns, Denver Broncos. Great question. Is Amari Cooper a flex play this week?
Perfect. I mean, I think he is, obviously, because he is the number 1 wide receiver. He is still getting targets. but I'm very cautious. I don't think there's any upside to him really anymore. And the Denver Broncos defensively have looked great the past 4 weeks, 5 weeks. So I think this could be kind of a tough, low scoring sort of slog fest of a game. And I'm okay if you want to pivot away from Amari Cooper, but if you have to flex him based on your situation, because you're probably, I don't know how deep your bench goes, but yeah, he's fine. He's still the wide receiver one. He's still going to see 7-8 targets. So you hope he does something with them. But I just genuinely don't love it. It's a huge downgrade.
Another question in the chat from A Manster. Do I trade Michael Pittman for Cooper Kupp? My receivers are Tyreek, Jetta, Ridley, Deontay T. I'm the number 1 seed in his full point PPR. 2 flex. Obviously, Kupp's hurt. We don't know what the situation is on that.
I'm losing faith. I'm losing faith that Cooper Kupp will come back to the Cooper Kupp we know. I'm just losing faith in that. He's older. He's now battled a couple injuries this season. I'm just losing faith that Cooper Kupp will, maybe he does it in the offseason. He can get totally healthy, comes back next year, and maybe has a sort of golden hour season. I'm just losing faith that Cooper Kupp is really just going to bounce back to be in a easy slam dunk top 5 wide receiver. I'm just losing faith in that. So I get the mindset and I get the thought, but I don't know. I really don't want anything to do with Cooper Kupp right now.
I get the trade because obviously Cooper Kupp, when he's on the field and going, he's an elite option. But obviously we haven't been seeing that out of him prior to him even getting hurt. Matthew Stafford has been kind of inefficient. Michael Pittman's been solid. He's been a solid 12-point fantasy day all day. And based on your team, you have the elite guy like Tyreek. But, we don't know what's going on with Jefferson. We don't know what's going on with T. Higgins. Deontay Johnson right now, we're not sure if we're going to get him back to what we saw this season. Ridley's kind of boomer bust. Having a guy like Michael Pittman on your team might be what you need to kind of give you that security, consistency among your wide receivers, because you have so many elite upside plays that you might just need that nice floor play outside of Tyreek Hill with Michael Pittman. So I would keep Pittman.
Yeah. I mean, you could be in a situation.
I get the trade, though.
I do too. But the problem is you could be in a situation in 2 weeks where you don't have Jetta, you don't have Higgins, and you don't have Kupp. And then you traded away Pittman. So you're out 4 guys. And so you're really like scraping the barrel. And it's like, I don't know. I think I would just take the security of Pittman as my wide receiver 2, use Tyreek as my wide receiver 1, and hope once Jay Jettas comes back, you're in gravy train. You know what I'm saying? Like you have like you said, you have the risk and upside already with Justin Jefferson. You don't need to add more risk to your game.
All right. Last call before the playoffs. Trade drops. Lost Richardson, Andrews, got McBride, likely to.
Okay.
What are we looking here? Are we looking for starts and sits? Oh, here you go. Who would you drop for likely?
Okay, was thinking Spears or Hunt. I would drop Hunt. I would drop Hunt.
Spears personally.
Yeah, sure. I mean, you could drop either one. They're both kind of the same. I think
Hunt's just been doing things in the offense. They're going to run the ball a lot. I would drop, if you're looking to drop somebody to actually acquire likely, for me it would be Spears. I'd hold on to Jaden Reed.
Yes, for sure. Hold on to Jaden Reed.
Yeah. I would want to hold on to Jaden Reed still personally. I think he's a lot of good games I think ahead of him still. I understand holding on to Spears because of the potential. What happens if something happens to Derrick Henry? But I mean, the Titans offense isn't going to move the ball anyway. They're not doing it with Derrick Henry. They're not going to do it with Tajay Spears. If you really want to pick up Isaiah Likely, I would personally go after Spears. Hunt's playing about 50% of the snaps with Jerome Ford. I don't want to give that up. So,
okay, sure.
All right. So back to this Broncos-Browns game.
Yeah.
You start Jerome Ford. You start Kareem Hunt. Personally, I think it's a good flex play. Javonte Williams, you start. David Njoku. You sit Dorian Thompson-Robinson, DTR. Adam Trotman, you sit. Do we go back to Sutton and Judy, or at least Sutton? At least you consider
Sutton. You can. Yeah, I think you can. I think you can start. I think you can start Sutton. Any
Yeah.
week you want to, you can start him. It's going to be, his stat line is going to be 4 for 37 and then a
And a touchdown.
score. And then it's like,
That's
okay,
all I need is a
I'll
touchdown every week.
yeah, it's all you need. And what's going to stink is when he doesn't get a touchdown. But the Broncos have clearly shown that in the red zone, they don't trust anyone else other than Cortland Sutton. And, the Broncos, believe it or not, have looked pretty good the past couple weeks. I understand the Cleveland Browns defense is an absolute animal of a defense to try and play against. But this is, you got to keep, we talked about it yesterday with sort of the Jamal Williams factor of last year. Some guys just have those seasons where they're like, I'm hot with touchdowns right now. I think Sutton's kind of in that wave.
Question: do we do this Devontae Adams for a cup?
No.
No. I
Nope.
think Adams showed that
need.
he can still do work.
Yep.
Honestly, even with Aiden O'Connell.
Yep.
Again, it depends on your situation. If you have the room to hold off and for a cup, but I would probably Adams is the same thing. He's an elite player still. I mean, I don't know if Matthew Stafford is doing anything more than Aiden O'Connell's doing right now this season. So I just hold on to Adams.
On a good week, they're both top 5 guys, and one of them is currently healthy and one of them is currently injured. So I'll take the guy who's healthy. That's how I'm going.
Basically, another question from Chandler. Flex, carry on Williams, James Conner, or Terry. I'm assuming Scary Terry.
I don't know if I'd trust Kyron Williams first week off the injury. Although the Rams are clearly trusting him first.
Henderson.
Yeah, the Rams are clearly trusting him first week off the injury because they just dropped Henderson. So maybe you kind of read the tea leaves. But I would start James Conner.
I'd probably start Scary Terry, even though I said I didn't like his matchup. I think based on the situation you're giving me, Terry might get some garbage time against that Cowboys.
Yep.
So I like Conner. John likes Conner, and I like Terry. And Dylan said, thanks for the input. Are you guys thinking of any changes for my team? You just look at it real quick.
Yeah.
So think of anything real quick.
So he has McBride. So to be honest, like losing Andrews obviously sucks, but you don't need to go crazy on a trade. If you wanted to, if you packaged, maybe you could package McBride and Hunt. If you were thinking, I'm gonna drop Hunt anyway.
Who are you trading him for, though?
That's what I'm asking. Like, do you think that the TJ Hawkinson owner would make that trade? No. Okay. No. What about Kincaid? Do you think the Kincaid manager would? No. Okay. Then yeah. Then no. I don't think it's worth.
Tight end.
What's up?
I think McBride's a solid tight end. I don't think anything moves that needle there for you to really make a jump.
Yeah.
I think your team is overall good. Quarterback's good. Running backs are getting running backs a little mixed a little bit for me. I think maybe you could try to package 2 if you want to condense and go and do like a Pollard, James Cook to go up and get like a Saquon, go up and get a Breece Hall type of individual, like a upside play guys. Because those 2 guys are kind of like floor plays right now. And I think Mixon will be a solid RB2. But if you want to look for Pollard and James Cook to go get one of the elite running backs, I would do that.
Yep. Yeah. Like I wonder what like
Austin Eckler.
I was just gonna say Austin Eckler is the name that keeps coming to mind. You could probably go get him. I don't know if I'd really go after like Josh Jacobs. I don't know if I'd really want to go after Saquon. I think I'd rather just ride the wave with Tony Pollard.
You also got a start and sit question.
So pick
PPR, James Cook, Hollywood Brown, or Hunt?
James Cook, I think.
Yeah. I would start James Cook. He doesn't want to start Hollywood with McBride, which I get.
Yeah, fair. Yeah, you're definitely limiting your overall upside with Hollywood and McBride in the lineup. So I would do James Cook.
Yep. James Cook's a good play. I think we finished this one for the most part. Let's go over the next game. Rams, Cardinals. Question of the game. Tutu Atwell back in the flex play with maybe Cooper Kupp not playing if he doesn't play.
I would say yes, but I don't love the way that Matt Stafford's been playing lately. So I think you can. I think he's kind of you know, I think he's right on the cusp. I think he's right on the cusp of like, I might look his way, but I would still rather take the bet with like Rashid Shaheed. I'd rather take that bet than
Respect it.
take the Tutu Atwell
I think
bet.
I think Atwell gives a floor play. He had double-digit fantasy points,
Mhm.
in the first 4 games prior to Cup coming back. So,
Yep. Yep.
yeah.
I mean, he definitely could. He's definitely good. He's a good ad for sure. He's definitely a big ad, and let's see what happens with Cup out of the picture.
Right. Question here in the chat: Flex, JSN, Charbonnet, Shakir, or Spears?
I would be between Charbonnet and Shakir. And I'd probably lean Charbonnet just for the guaranteed volume.
I think you go a floor play. Safe play would be Charbonnet. If you're looking for that, I think he's the safe play just because he likely will be the RB1. Shakir, I think Shakir could have a big game, but it's a risky upside play. That's how I see it. But Charbonnet is the safer option.
Yeah, Charbonnet's probably going to have the role to himself this week.
Right.
And that's pretty enticing.
That is
pretty enticing.
Agreed. Other starts in this game here. Kyler Murray. Again, I like Kerryon Williams coming off still in a general sense. I think he will be decent enough. James Conner's good enough. He's the RB1 on their team. He's seen enough work that you can start him for the most part. Puka Nuka, I like him. Obviously, Cooper Kupp, if he plays, I don't know if I like him as much, but he's Cooper Kupp. I would have to throw him out there anyway. Trey McBride, great start. Tyler Higbee, you sit. Rondale Moore, you sit. Greg Dulce, you sit. Hollywood Brown, do you play Hollywood? I mean, we just kind of talked about sitting him in a different question, but do you play him at all? Is he flex worthy? Because I don't think so.
I haven't. What stinks is we were, if you drafted Hollywood and you kind of hung on to Hollywood, you were the whole time you were getting all these sort of like easy points, 15 points, 10 points, whatever. With Josh Dobbs, you were saying, oh man, when Kyler comes back, it's just going to go to another level. And Kyler comes back and it hasn't. So I think you're okay with pivoting away from Hollywood Brown into this like must start flex kind of guy. He can be flex worthy. He clearly is the probably number one target, pretty close to, maybe a 1A, 1B with Trey McBride. But I think, I think I ultimately full slate of games, gun to my head, I'm probably sitting Hollywood.
All right, I respect it. Yeah, I don't really want to start him either. He's just not seeing the targets with Kyler right now, and he's not being very efficient right now on the team.
Yeah.
I would prefer to sit him, but he's not a cut or anything, just to sit right now. Question: sell high on Saquon or hold? He plays Philly twice. He does play Philly in week 18 though, so I don't know if you play through week 18. But do you sell high or do you hold?
Yeah, I mean, always these conversations
from him.
Yeah, these conversations are always ambiguous. Like, what can you get for him? Are you selling him for
a wide receiver?
Yeah. What are you getting? But I think you can obviously. I think I don't trust Tommy DeVito. I don't trust the Giants to. I mean, I think Saquon's going to get 25. 20 carries a game because they're not going to do anything else with him. Like there's no other way to move the ball. So I'm okay if you want to trade him. I just, don't trade him just for the sake of trading him just because he's on a bad offense. I think if you're selling high, in my mind, a sell high is, okay, I'm getting either 2 for 1 or I'm getting an upgrade at another position. Like I'm getting an upgrade at wide receiver. I'm getting an upgrade at, tight end. I'm trading away Saquon, or I'm getting, maybe I'm getting Ramondre Stevenson plus, Rashid Shaheed, right? Like I'm getting Ramondre plus.
You definitely need more than
that. But you know what I'm saying? Like I keep getting Rashid Shaheed in my head, but I'm getting, I'm trading him for, Hollywood and Ramondre. Yeah.
Look around and see if one of the top tier teams want to, sell some of their depth. And if you're looking for depth, sell that and then get 2 players for the price of 1. If not, I think he'll be fine. I mean, he's not going to get you 28 points like he did this past week against Washington, but he's been playing. He played the Jets. He played played some decent teams that are good against the run. I mean, Dallas is a little tough, but I mean, he's okay. He'll be fine. He'll give you 10 points probably, but
he's a perfect example of why volume for a running back is valuable, because you give any of these guys 20 carries, they're going to be pretty good. Like, they're not going to really kill you. So
exactly. I think we kind of already answered our question here, but Rishi Rice, is he still flex worthy?
Probably not for me. I just think Kansas City just, I mean, it's a roulette. It's an absolute roulette wheel every week on where targets are going. You know, who expected Justin Watson to get 9 targets? Like, it's just, you can't trust it right now. No one has really emerged as that, you know, give me the ball kind of player in this offense. And I think Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid are totally fine with that, because they can throw the ball to anybody, and Patrick can do extend plays and look for whoever's open and throw some crazy arm angle throw. And, you know, so I think that you can always play him because he's a threat. He's a threat to score. And he's on a good offense, but I'm not trusting him to the level of like, yeah, you got to put him in your flex. He needs to be in that lineup. It's like, yeah, maybe. I mean, I guess if you want to bet on 0-0 at roulette, like it could hit.
Right.
It very well could not.
Right. Yeah. No, like I said, I don't want to really start him. He's just not seeing the target share for me personally to trust him in lineups. You start Pat Mahomes, Josh Jacobs, Isaiah Pacheco, Travis Kelce, Devontae Adams. They're all good starts. You sit Aiden O'Connell, Micah Mayer, Jacoby Myers, all the other Kansas City Chiefs wide receivers. I want nothing to do with them in a general sense. So this one was easy. So
that one was quick.
This one's pretty easy too. Khaled Shakir jumps in the flex worthy conversation. I think we kind of answered this tonight already too.
Mm-hmm. I think he can. I think he absolutely can jump in the flex.
Big play.
This is a game, in my opinion, that could be and should be pretty high scoring. He's clearly, you know, sort of become this electric, you know, yak deep threat, like all these things that you want for fantasy players. It's like he's there, he's that guy. It's just, you know, he's probably going to be the 3rd or 4th target on the offense any given week, and that's risky. But he can do a lot with 4 or 5 targets. He can make something happen.
Agreed. I believe that you can flex him. I think he's got upside flex play, but he's a risk, obviously. You start Josh Allen, you start Jalen Hurts, you start Swift, you start AJ Brown, Devonta Smith, Diggs. I think Davis is a good play. Obviously, if you're starting Shakir, Davis is another big deep threat guy. Dalton Kincaid, obviously. You sit Latavius Murray, any Steelers, any Eagles tight ends, obviously, Julio Jones, all those people. I think we've kind of said James Cook. You know, he's okay.
Yep.
He's an okay, fine play. It's a tough matchup, but he's okay.
Yep.
But again, I'm not thrilled to play him, but he's okay. Next game, Ravens Chargers. This is a Sunday night game. A pretty decent Sunday night game. Do we trust Isaiah Likely in lineups?
Oh boy, we talked about it yesterday. I don't think he. I
don't matchup.
It's a great matchup. It's a great matchup. I don't think the departure of Mark Andrews means that Isaiah Likely falls right into that role. I think what it means is everybody's going to get a little bump. And so Isaiah Likely's probably going to see 4 or 5 targets in a good matchup. Could pay off.
Let's do the test. Logan Thomas or Isaiah
Logan,
Likely?
Logan Thomas. I would play Logan. Oh, Logan Thomas is playing the Cowboys. I still pick Logan Thomas.
All right. So you're looking at a high-end tight end 2 with some upside, maybe.
Yep, exactly. High-end tight end 2 is a perfect place for Isaiah Likely. I think he's a good ad off the waiver wire, you know, because tight ends are abysmal. But at this point in the season, you probably have someone better. Like, you know, I'm for sure starting like Dalton Schultz, or I'm starting a lot of people over Isaiah Likely. Like, again, this narrative that he's a pure handcuff to Mark Andrews, I think is a false narrative. I don't think he walks in and becomes Mark Andrews and demands 9 targets. I just don't think that exists.
Yeah. I think you had the lower expectation, but hopefully you get a decent outing out of him. Good matchup, but don't expect Mark Andrews. That's all.
No.
Expect Isaiah Likely.
Yeah,
Not for
exactly.
injuries.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Starts Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert, Austin Eckler, Gus Edwards, Keenan Allen, Zay Flowers. I'm sitting the Chargers tight ends. There's a carousel going around with them. Quentin Johnston, nope, sitting him this week. Keaton Mitchell,
That
do you
drop
put him
was
in your
so
lineup?
bad. Keaton Mitchell,
Flex player,
yeah.
not there yet. He's splitting work right now. It seems like he's very well involved.
Oh, Keaton Mitchell. Keaton Mitchell. What to do with Keaton Mitchell? I think you can play him. Obviously, he is a pretty electric, speedy, hit a home run kind of back. With the when you take into the account that there's no bye weeks this week, I think you probably have better options on your bench. You probably have other people you could play. But he is very interesting. He is interesting to sort of watch and keep your eye on. But the team feels pretty committed to Gus Edwards. As much as they talked up Keaton Mitchell this past week and loved Keaton Mitchell, and Harbaugh was talking about how he's going to get Mitchell more involved. The same level of work that he had the week prior. It's just anytime they get down within the 10-yard line, it's Gus Edwards. So, Keaton Mitchell, in order for him to score, it would have to be from 30 yards out. And,
That's true.
So I'm wary. I love the talent. I love the situation. I'm just
Better
wary.
during bye weeks.
Yeah, exactly.
He's a bye week
Yeah.
running back. I don't know if he's there yet for the non-bias, so I get it.
Yeah, exactly.
Odell, if he plays, is probably a decent flex play now.
Sure.
Rashard Bateman, I'm not there yet, but if Odell's out, I'm still probably not there yet. So, all right. Monday Night Football, Bears, Vikings, Joshua Dobbs or Justin Fields.
That's so funny. I had this exact lineup decision in one of my dynasty leagues, and I went with Justin Fields.
Okay,
but I could be,
I agree. Honestly, I think
I could be tempted to change, but no, I just think that Justin Fields, is playing for his life. He's playing for his job. He ran for 100 yards last week. He's gonna rush for probably 80 yards again this week. I'm okay with, I'm okay with riding Justin Fields. I think Dobbs is a great story, and I love Josh Dobbs. Obviously, we talked about him.
Too. They're both good starts.
They're both good starts. I just think there's a little bit more juice to squeeze with Justin Fields. So I had both of them in a Superflex Dynasty League, and I chose Fields as my QB2.
I respect it. And again, I have them both as starts. I just, we wanted to come up with some question here.
Yeah,
I didn't like
good question.
Thing. So, yeah, but I'm going with Fields too. I think his rushing upside is higher than Dobbs. DJ Moore, you start him again. Cole Kmet, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson. You sit Roshan Johnson, KJ Osborne, Darnell Mooney. I don't know if Deontay Foreman's playing this week, but if he does, probably going to sit him too. You start Justin Jefferson, but I don't know what we're going to get out of him first game. We haven't seen him with another quarterback, but you start him anyway. But just lower your expectation. I think personally, I just want to put that out there for people. I'm lowering my expectation. You prefer Khalil Herbert or Alexander Madison?
Probably Alexander Madison, maybe. Just because I think the RB1 for the Bears is Justin Fields. So, if Deontay Foreman is out with this ankle injury, then I'd probably go Khalil Herbert because there'll be just more volume for him. But if you have this four-headed monster with Justin Fields, Khalil Herbert, Roshan Johnson, Deontay Foreman, I'm cool with not playing any of those guys. At least Alexander Madison, you're dealing with Ty Chandler and Alexander Madison. That's kind of it. And Ty Chandler will absolutely eat into Madison's work, but not to the level of, Roshan and Foreman and Fields. And that's the thing. You could get down into the red zone and then Fields just rushes it in. So Khalil Herbert could get 12 carries for 37 yards. And it's like, awesome. Thanks for that. I love all 4 points I just got from you.
I respect it. I like it. I'm probably going to choose Herbert personally here. But I don't really like either one of them in this matchup this week here. Overall, I just think Madison's going to split more. And the Vikings do have a really tough run defense, but if Herbert's by himself, I trust him enough to play in this matchup. So, but yeah, that's gonna end our starting shit show for this week, guys. Starting sit show this week, guys. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed it. We had a ton of questions, which we love as always here. John, is there anything you want to mention before we get going?
Nope. I saw a bunch of new faces in the chat. Really appreciate you all. Hit that subscribe button. It means the world to us. We're usually Monday, Thursdays. We're Monday, Tuesday because we got Thanksgiving. Follow us on Twitter. We will try and navigate and help, any way you can. This is the time to, sort of gear up, get ready for playoffs. And, if you're in any level of dynasty and you're kind of on the outside looking in, start looking at the waiver wire for, deeper plays for next year, make some trades, gear up, get some value for next year. Don't stop being active just because you're out of it. So, sure. This is fun. This is important. This is just as important as week 1, week 2, week 3 is right now.
I respect it. Yes, absolutely. And again, like I said, we thank you all for tuning in as always. We do enjoy you guys chatting in here with us. Obviously, we are like John said, we're here Monday and Thursday, 5:30 p.m. Central Eastern time. I always want to say Central, 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We always go. Again, we'll be back next Monday to talk week 13 here. And again, those who listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, who listen to us afterwards, we appreciate it. But definitely jump on the YouTube channel and chat with us, see our faces and whatnot. Me, John, and Coach Jibbs will always be here, guys, every Monday and Thursday. And again, enjoy your guys' Thanksgiving. Have fun. Spend time with loved ones and family or friends, whoever, and enjoy some football this weekend. It's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of divisional games. So those usually end up being very good football games. So we thank you guys all for listening. Tune in until next time, guys. And
back to back is not far-fetched. We got a couple of